Hi, my name's Noelle, and I'm at the River Center Branch Library. Today we're going to learn how to make a hand-sewn notebook using the French link stitch and the kettle stitch. In your notebook kit, you should have a 2-page instruction sheet, some embroidery floss, a needle, some beeswax, a front and back cover, and 10 folded groups of paper. Each of these is called a signature, so you should have 10 signatures. The first thing to do is decide which you want for your front and which you want for your back cover. I think this is going to be my front and this will be my back, and so I want to make sure that, yep, that's going to open correctly and this opens correctly. You can set your front cover aside with the signatures. The next thing you're going to do is take your embroidery floss and separate it into 2 lengths of 3 strands each. I find this is easier to do if I take a piece of tape first and tape the end of my embroidery floss to the table that I'm working on. And it does tend to get a little bit wound up. Just kind of finesse it. Oop. Came loose. Actually, it might be better to tape the 3 and yeah, that works best. Oh, that's so much better. Once you've separated your thread, take the beeswax and make a little groove in it and draw the thread through the beeswax once or twice. Get a nice coat of beeswax. That's going to help your 3 strands stick together, and it's going to keep them from getting too tangled while you're working. All right, we have our waxed thread. Now take your needle and thread 1 strand through, or one of your, not 1 strand, 1 length of thread through. And you're going to start working on your back cover, starting with the bottom hole and working from outside to inside. Draw your thread through and leave a 4-inch tail. You don't want a knot in this yet. We'll tie a knot a little bit later. And then you're just going to go in and out. You're going to have to just be a little bit tangled up. A little bit slow and deliberate with your thread so it doesn't get tangled while it's long like this. In and out. And you'll notice the stitches on the outside of the book are long, and the stitches on the inside are short. When you come out that final hole, get your next signature. Well, I guess this is the first signature, and line up the holes. And you'll go in the top binding hole and out the second binding hole. Now we'll do our first French slip stitch. All that is slipping your needle underneath the long stitch below and then going back in the binding hole of your signature. Let's try it again. Come out the binding hole, go under the previous long stitch and back in the binding hole. And you can see that makes a nice little X. We've attached our first signature. Now we're going to tie a knot in our tail. So just take that tail and your working thread and tie them together in a square knot. And then thread the tail onto your needle and pull it into the inside of your first signature. And pull a little bit until the knot comes through, and you can tuck under your first stitch and cut it short. All right. Now rethread your needle with your working thread. And take your second signature and line it up. We won't start our kettle stitches on the end until we get to the top of our second signature. So go ahead and go in that first binding hole on the bottom, out your second binding hole. Now each row, each set of French link stitches, you only go under the most recent long stitch. So you're not going to catch all of them. You're not going to catch your bottom one. You just want this top stitch. I think I'm splitting mine. There we go. That most recent stitch from the previous signature. Now we'll do our kettle stitch. The kettle stitch, you go under or go behind the previous stitch and then go through the loop you made. So you're almost tying a little knot. And get your next signature lined up and go in that first binding hole. Oh, I almost undid it. When you need to join a new thread on, just come to the inside of your signature and tie a knot with your next thread. And then you can cut these two tails short and continue on your way. Here's the kettle stitch one more time. So under your previous stitch, and then through the loop. All right, almost time for our last signature. We'll do one more kettle stitch here, under, then back through. We'll put the final signature on. Now you take your cover, your front cover, and line it up. And sew it on just as you were sewing the signatures. Come to the last binding hole, come out, you'll do one final kettle stitch under, come back here, thread, and then through the loop, and then you'll go back in the binding hole of your front cover, and you'll just tie your thread off in that last stitch there. can do a double knot if you like. There you go. And there's your finished book. It feels a little bit loose, the spine does, but it's very secure. And what's really nice about this style is that all the pages will open flat. The book will lay flat all the way through. And it looks really beautiful on the outside. This project was inspired by the Sea Lemon YouTube channel. If you go to Sea Lemon's channel, you'll see this project and a lot of other really cool bookbinding projects. So be sure to check her out. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you had a lot of fun.